tried the update patch yet, but
yeah. Okay, so sorry, I just started the recording for this. So this is the Drupal Core Cross Initiatives meeting for March 8th, 2018. And we have a couple of people, and we've just been talking about how nice 8.5 is. So a lot of stuff in there. And there's even more to go for 8.6. So we only have a few people today. And we have this document that I will tweet together with the recording, where we summarize what we talked about. And in alphabetical order, JavaScript would be the first one who's represented here. So Matt, if you want to go.
Sure. Yeah. So we have been working on the sort of decoupled React-powered administrative interface over the last couple weeks. That progress is going well, and we are building sort of some companion modules right now to support the extra REST endpoints that are not currently supported in core, and a lot of this is dependent on JSON API being included in core at some point, and so we're working with folks that are working on that to sort of give them, help and make sure that that doesn't sort of go off the rails a little bit. So,
that's okay.
But it's good to sort of coordinate from both sides. Like, these are the things we're going to need, and then these are the, how can we meet kind of in the middle.
So you are in discussion. You don't need them to be here specifically for this to be discussed, I guess.
Yeah, we have the weekly JavaScript initiative update meeting that happens basically every Monday, and sometimes, Gabe and Wim and Mateo pop in, and we can have chats about what's happening.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been good. I think that the interface is coming along nicely, and this will be nice because it's a completely separate system. It's not doesn't use any of Drupal's rendering and routing and any of those kind of pieces. So it's built 100% outside the box. So yeah, that's it. That's just what we've been working on. So I guess Nightwatch is close too, so that's really nice.
Yeah, that was last one. The last time we said that it's pretty much ready. Other than writing actual tests, converting all the tests. So where are you with that?
So you can actually write. So the conversion to adding Nightwatch support is different than switching away from Phantom.
Yeah.
So there's that process is basically done at this point. You can write JavaScript test-based tests against the Chrome driver stuff, and I don't think anyone has actually done that yet. Ted and I worked on the thing to get the settings tree tests converted over. But the new patch has been posted to the issue for Nightwatch support, and then there's one more, I think, that needs to go in first. Yeah, it's the ability to install Drupal from JavaScript, and that's RTBC as well. So we're in a good place. I think this will be really exciting once this is done too. So there's been a lot of interest in this being done in a faster way to write tests, because JavaScript test-based tests are super slow.
Yeah.
Because they can't be run. There's no way to run, especially with Phantom, to run them in parallel. So.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So in terms of the last, so we have challenges from the last meeting that you need backend support for validating config entities and stuff like that. Are you sidestepping that now with the current work, or you still need that backend?
Definitely need that, but we can do other things while we wait for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say we're not 100% blocked on it, so it is.
Yeah, that's another one where API first would be useful here to discuss. But we've agreed last time that it's a shared priority anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So stunned.
And that's it, I guess, if anybody has any questions.
Very cool. All right. So I don't have updates for layouts personally, and neither for API first. I think the link for the 8.6 priorities is still accurate, so we'll keep that around in the notes. So people can go there and look. There's a bunch of things that are in the work for serialization gaps, file upload support, developer experience. Working on a coherent API first ecosystem and maintainability. It's a lot of stuff. So no updates from them. Today, media is currently mostly on hold, waiting on some contributors to be available, I guess. So I think we made the best announcement possible with the front page post yesterday for 8.5. Let's try to explain that it's kind of sort of improved, but is not really there yet. So that's all we can do, I guess, for media for now. So it's any new successes and the challenges people meetings are not happening, so media needs some love, basically. Migrate, we don't have people from Migrate either, but I know what I can say about Migrate. So with the Migrate team, we worked on an announcement to go out with the 8.5 release. And that basically explains that the Migrate API is stable officially, and the Migrate paths from older Drupal versions cannot officially be stable yet because there's a bunch of holes with multilingual migrations, especially if you have entity references like menus, which is pretty common. And so we have an announcement where we explain that you can use it if you have a monolingual site. And supposedly the UI is all there to be used and everything. So that should be good. If you have a multilingual site, then you probably need a lot of custom work. So yeah, that's not good. So I guess the success is a separate announcement about stability. For that. It was separate so to get more visibility, but it's kind of buried visually on the front page, so we'll probably get some other promotion for that, but it's also linked from the 8.5 release. Yeah, it also has a bunch of, it has a cloud of all the people who contributed, which is like more than 570 people over 4 years. It's a lot of people. Out of the box.
Yep. So pretty much as Mark said, it's a good day for us. We're obviously we're hidden, but we're in, which is great. And I think yeah, it's good that Elliot's just joined as well, because I think between us we might be able to just give the right overview of what's going on, because it's certainly a lot of moving parts at the moment. So the good news is there's been more examples of other initiatives or contributors starting to use Umami for demoing their own work, which is great. So it continues to seem to go down really well and be genuinely useful. So that's really good. Very exciting. And we've been focusing quite a bit on the actual content creation again as well. So starting to line up more content there. Lots of review going on there. So that's something that Elliot, who seems to have just dropped off the call, but Elliot's been able to help out with. And I know that Elliot covers for us at the recent Drupal camp that we couldn't quite reach, where we had a session scheduled to present what we were doing, and Elliot kindly jumped in and helped us out there. And I guess the main focus for us now is thinking about next steps, and obviously that's getting the initiative, the theme and profile unhidden.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of what's involved there, I probably need sort of to open it out a little bit for Mark and Elliot to chip in. What the main blockers there, the main considerations to do, to cover there are. One of them, as you mentioned in the last call, Gabor, a bit of a can of worms, is the whole backwards compatibility thing. So yeah.
It said on the channel that the people were concerned about backwards compatibility and using it as a base to build off of, etc.
Yeah.
When I think of that issue, I just kind of think we can't solve every issue at the same time.
Yeah.
And we've decided to prioritize our work on giving a good user experience and a good feature set. And if we get around to backwards compatibility, we do. If we don't get around to backwards compatibility, sorry. And on top of that, if we don't get around to backwards compatibility and someone who insists that we need it, it would be good if they could start writing some code or giving some thoughts on how we can achieve that, or what the failure is going to be, or even if they went as far as installing the website and trying to upgrade themselves and see, does it actually break? Because we don't even know if it does yet. I just don't think our team has the resources to focus on that one feature just at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very much at the heart of what we set out to do originally, which is to create a demo that's we can easily adapt over time to show, the latest and greatest in Drupal. And the moment we're sort of slowed down on that, it would be a real shame. Missed a hugely important part of what we're trying to do is get that latest and greatest in there.
Yeah, I agree.
So do you think you have the requirements for showing it on the UI in 8.5 laid out, or just still in the exploration phase?
I think probably that's a conversation that's going to be ongoing, isn't it? In terms of what we're just mentioning, this whole backwards compatibility issue. I don't know if that.
But is that the only thing that's need to be discussed, or are there any other things?
I mean, from the perspective of the design and the theming, there's bits that would be great to get finished. Just a little bit more of the actual original design. Some of those features that were there, we could certainly look to be moving those in, and that would help. But it doesn't feel that that's something that prevents it from being shown. I don't think. The standardization of content, that's something that we've been working hard on, and I think that was probably an important part of showing the demo. I think that's mostly there now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything I'm missing in terms of reasons to not to show.
So one of the issues I've seen is that was not done is the magazine page, where you could actually where we can pretend that you can subscribe to the magazine or something like that. Is that still in the plans? Because we have a bunch of call to actions in the footers and stuff, and then it doesn't really lead you to anywhere, does it?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly the point we're making. Is there's bits that just need finishing off.
Yeah.
I think what we got slowed down on in the main was just around blocks, custom blocks and blocks. It's a tricky area because, of course, how you would do that on a typical build where you're doing it for a client and it works that way and that's all good, isn't actually really what you want to be doing here, where we've got a different use case. So that might mean that we need to go back and revisit some of the aspects that the design sort of is trying to drive us towards and rethink some of that. So that would be a way of probably easing our progress. I think connected with the backwards compatibility, but perhaps not actually a blocker, I don't know, is the whole one around layout builder and just the idea that if we're not going to be supporting layout builder right now, then what level of support do we need to give for the field UI? So there was a conversation that sprung up around that. Mark, do you know if that progressed at all? Was the conclusion to go along with what you were originally suggesting, is it works this way for this version, and since we weren't thinking about backwards compatibility, it will work differently in a future version?
Yeah, well, it's kind of gone around in circles. We've all discussed it and all agreed on kind of every approach at different stages. We've never really gotten as far as making a decision to say, okay, look, we're going to go with this specific approach. My preference would be that we go with what we have now for 8.5, and with field layout and things like that being stable, we should be able to fix the other issues quite easily, and it might even mean we add another layout or type or two to Drupal core rather than adding them into the Umami team. So every team could, every Drupal website could utilize them. You know, the kind of the thing split in 50% and slightly different versions. The only concern really that seems to be tripping us up then that based on the original designs versus what we would need to be able to make the team flexible and not hard code anything into it, it would be the title field is not available on the manage display page, and we've got a design that has an image first and then a title and then some teaser text. So we'd have to swap that around, that the title would always come before the content, so we can just print the content variable rather than printing content.field image or whatever it is to bring back in the manage display pages. So it doesn't answer your question, Keith. I know. I think, yeah, we don't seem to have got a consensus on it yet. Yeah, that's what it is.
This is where somebody from layouts would be useful. We usually have Tim from layouts, but we don't have him now. I think personally that layouts may not be ready enough to use in 8.5. Maybe in a later version of 8.5, that's also an experimental module, right? So it can improve in 8.5 in patch releases. So it will get better. If you look at the GIF that's posted in the front page post for 8.5, there's definitely some visible glitches in how it works. So it's quite bleeding edge, I guess. It's certainly something that I think Umami should do in 8.6. I don't know if it will do it in 8.5 eventually, but it may be too late, because like layouts need some time to get more stable in 8.5, and then Umami can start applying layouts to Umami itself, and then by the time that's fully baked, it might be time for 8.6 already, right? So I don't know if that's worth focusing on for 8.5. I definitely don't think that it will be a requirement for showing the theme in 8.5. but certainly is a feature for 8.6 to highlight.
Yeah, I think that would be good enough for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'll try to get some more commuter attention on the backwards compatibility stuff and see like if we can define some kind of concrete list of things to work on for further patch releases to show umami. Because one of the nice things could be if we can figure it out and resolve it in the next month or so, then it could be shown by DrupalCon, I guess. But I think the main blocker here is even figuring it out. So it's like feedback from release and maybe, well, yeah, mostly release management.
And would that include the potential that if we've got good reviews going on against the extra content or tidying up some of the content that's there, that might even be able to get committed in as well on a point release?
Yeah, so it's an experimental profile, so a lot of things can be committed for point releases, yes. I mean, it could even be shown on the install screen, right? So, and that's the biggest change.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
possible to do. So, so yeah, so sure, absolutely. More content, refinements, whatever, all of those are committable.
Yeah, because there's probably not a huge amount that we need to do to actually make an enormous amount of visual difference and improvement.
Yep.
Yeah, what we've got is very MVP at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few of the issues, I guess, that might, they're small in terms of the feature set, but might be large in terms of actually getting them working are the accessibility ones, especially around the mobile navigation. We've got the mobile menu button printed outside the nav element, and that's a bit of an issue. So it's more kind of fine tuning those kinds of things rather than actually get the new features or new designs or anything done.
Yep, fair point.
Yeah. So I don't want to promise anything, obviously, because there's need to be a lot done in terms of even defining criteria, right? And I think the release managers are busy with all of these like last minute criticals and whatever turned up in the RC phase and just getting the release out. So now it's finally out. So that's why I thought this meeting is important, because we can try to refocus them on stuff like defining the criteria for this. So maybe then we'll be able to have a chance for DrupalCon, because we need to define criteria. We need to find people to work on whatever the criteria is to be resolved, and then we need to be able to commit them. We need to be able to have that in the point release by then. So it's a tall order, but hopefully it's not impossible. Okay, cool. So that's out of the box. PHP unit, Daniel said that he will occasionally be available at this time, but not this week. So again, not here. Settings tray became stable. So I asked Ted if he's still interested to be on here, but he said that he would be interested in the recording, but is stable now, and he's not actively working on so much, so will not feature settings tray anymore. And workflows, I don't have updates on, so that's a thing that I'm not following closely enough, unfortunately, to be able to tell.
Yeah, this is Lucas.
In the meantime,
did you already talk about Migrate with Adam?
Yeah, so what we talked about Migrate in short is we managed to publish the separate announcement about stability, and I summarized the announcement itself. And that's about my window on Migrate so far, so you can definitely add to that, please.
The only one is that I think you've Gabor saw some of the comments was for release managers to consider adding an experimental module at some point in the life of Drupal, either 6 or 8.6 or 8.5 for multilingual migrations. We talked about that again on a maintainers call this morning. Alex was also on the call, seemed somewhat supportive of the idea. Most of the maintainers seemed somewhat felt a little like it was messy, but also agreed that it was probably not a bad option, just so we can migrate Drupal UI stable. So that's something that we'd like to have discussed with
So do you have
release managers.
Do
I have a link?
Proposal doc, or you have it in an issue?
It's in a proposal doc.
Okay.
Do you have a link to that, or do you?
Probably have one, but if you can paste it here in Hangouts, I can edit to the notes, and then I can point release managers to it. Cool.
So that's the only thing. We're all very excited and happy that we got migrate stable.
Cool. Yeah, congrats. Ooh, yes. Cool. I think that's it for today then. We've had everyone who was here. So I will try to follow up with the release managers mostly, basically on Migrate's idea for adding a separate experimental module for multilingual migrations and out of the box to help define the criteria for showing it in the UI. And that will hopefully accelerate both of these things forward. So that's my action items here. So I'll do that later this week. So thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for the great work. And I don't think so that it makes sense for us to have this meeting very soon again. And DrupalCon is like it's 5 weeks from now. It is, yeah, it's less than 5 weeks. So we may not have another one before DrupalCon because several people will be at DrupalCon and representing initiatives, even if unfortunately not everyone can make it. So I don't think we'll have another one before DrupalCon. So have a good time and see all of you there who can make it. Thanks.
Thank you, Gabor. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.